Kojo Yankson is also ready. We're going to have motivation from him. Kojo, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Daddy Roro. It's great to see you. It's been a few days.
Yeah, great to see you as well. And what's your motivation about this morning?
Well, today it's about the one thing that our nation will need if we have any chance of beating this COVID-19 challenge.
Great. But right here, we have to also keep you up to date with the latest business trends. And on AM Biz, the Ministry of Health, we already do know, has submitted about 30 and over herbal drugs for testing to find a possible efficacy or contamination if they are on the shelves, etc. So we'll take a look at that. Karen Dodo, a lady on the beat as well. And then we'll have Odilia in Tiamwa bringing to us that great package. But on the other hand, apart from business, we also do know that how we are able to ensure that the lockdown or the post-lockdown related issues are enforced will become critical. And Kojo Yankson, we have Obiamwa right here in the studio, a Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. And we've all been wondering, post-lifting of the lockdown measures, how we're going to enforce people wearing face masks, etc.
Yeah, it's an important aspect of the next step. Once the lockdown has been lifted, we need to actually make sure that our movements do not create danger for each other. So I'm very keen to find out how Mr. Obiamwa and his colleagues are going to ensure that the president's directives can be enforced in a way that doesn't obstruct human life, public life, but also doesn't create a public health crisis.
Now, for the many related things that Dr. Nsiah-Ansari has been talking about and making public in that interaction on PM Express, there was one poignant thing about what the data kept showing around the world about the number of people who really were in danger. We're talking about a demographic that will be ultimately old or are old, and we've seen a lot of fatalities among them. And he was saying that, well, in Africa, we seem to have a very youthful population, Kojo.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the case in Ghana as well. I think we have over 55% of the population being under the age of 35, which is wonderful in terms of, the workforce and the youthful resource of humanity. But the virus has also shown that even if it is killing more elderly than youthful, it is not sparing anyone. So the elderly are at risk from the youth. And so the fact that we have a more youthful population probably is a bigger risk for our elderly population. And all of these things need to be considered.
Exactly. And that's why we'll be doing a critical analysis of the demographics. That is the age bracket of the population, their sex, etc., who seem to be most at risk. Because when you do the analysis of what the conversation and the literature is, and all the study that has been done, there's a great indication that you have a good immune system. Sometimes you may have numbers that don't even show the symptoms at all, and they become the carriers and keep transmitting. And that's a concern. So we're going to have Professor Alfred Yamson, who is going to have a conversation with us on the back of all that analysis that we're going to have. But we'll intersperse all this with the latest news headlines, tell you about the latest news stories as well. But let's start the show with some motivation from Kojo.
Absolutely. Now, today's message is called The Real Enemy. Now, I've been thinking about a few things, like my twin cousins, Pingin and Kakra. Now, those two loved to fight when they were kids. They were always yelling and scratching and biting and punching and killing and slapping each other. They could go at it all day until someone else hit one of them. Immediately, they would stop fighting each other and start raining down a world of pain on whoever was dumb enough to attack one of them. Now, it was always an amusing sight. You know, how a common enemy could unite the brawling brothers so quickly. Now, those memories of Pingin and Kakra have got me thinking about a few other things, like how in Ghana we politicize every single issue. We seem to believe that there is an NPP-NDC angle to every situation of human life. You know, a couple of weeks ago, the Bank of Ghana Hospital became a topic for national conversation when the health minister suggested that the facility would be used to treat VIPs infected with COVID-19. Now, for some strange reason, instead of the conversation focusing on how to ensure the hospital is put to the most efficient use, it suddenly became a conversation about who built it, the NDC or the NPP. Can you imagine that? We're in a crisis and we need to save lives. But all some people cared about was scoring political points. It was ridiculous. Now, that was not the first time I had encountered this unnecessary politicization of issues in Ghana. From Dumsor to armed robberies to the disappearance of Castro, some Ghanaians will find a way of turning everything into a point-scoring exercise on the level of politics. Now, this is a true source of concern to me because as a nation, our problems do not care who we vote for. They affect us all, not just the followers of one party. Dumsor does not only plunge NDC followers into darkness. All Ghanaians bear the brunt. When the cedi depreciates, it affects livelihoods across the nation, livelihoods of CPP, PPP, NPP, NDC, all of us. When prices go up, they don't just single out members of one party to pay them. As a nation, our issues are no respecter of a person's political affiliation. So if our problems are not partisan in nature, then how can we solve them with partisan politics? How can we be hearing stories of people using our tax money to feed the poor, but only feeding those who can prove they belong to the ruling party? And how can the people who are sharing these stories about partisan food distribution be doing so without any concrete evidence to back their claims? And considering the seriousness of these accusations, how come there have been no announcements of investigations? See, partisanship, even when lives are at stake. Now, at this crucial time of life and death in Ghana, instead of us thinking of how to deploy medical staff across all of our hospitals to fight this virus, how could we seriously be wasting our time debating political parties and which ones built a hospital? Who built it? Why do we even care? Look, Condoleezza Rice seemed to know exactly how my twin cousins felt when she said, "We need a common enemy to unite us." My dear friends, there's no more common enemy to Ghana than the novel coronavirus. There's only one way we can fight this common enemy, and it will require you and I to do something totally out of our comfort zone, something we may never have had occasion to do in our entire lives. We are going to have to put Ghana before our party. Yeah, I know it's going to be difficult, but that is quite literally the only way to win this war. When Tony Blair took Britain to war in Iraq over weapons of mass destruction, it was after a bitter parliamentary battle. His own backbenchers voted against him in large numbers, and he ended up securing war approval by the skin of his teeth. But guess what? Once the vote was cast and the decision to go to war was made, the whole of Parliament got behind the action to send troops to Iraq. Suddenly, there was a common enemy called Saddam Hussein with his supposed weapons of mass destruction. And when it came to dealing with the enemy, there was no difference between Labour and Conservative Party. Members that found the ability to put aside their differences and unite behind an idea rather than a personality or a party. And that is Ghana's only way out of this terrifying predicament that the coronavirus has put us in. So please, my dear friends, I am not exaggerating when I say this is our only chance. And I wonder if you know what that means. It means if you have a party position on COVID-19, instead of a national or even a global position on it, then you are basically saying you do not wish for Ghana to beat this virus. Sorry, but there is no other logical explanation for why you would prefer to score political points with this disease instead of working together to beat it. And let's not be deceived. This is serious. According to the authorities, the modeling projects that 3 million of us will be infected. Do you think they will all be from one party? Do you know whether that number will include you or me? The problems affect all of us. So the solutions must come from all of us. My name is Kojo Yankson, and putting your country first means putting your politics second. Good morning, Ghana.